and Happy New Year! Welcome to the strangest gig I've ever played, True Tales from the studio and the stage. I'm your host, Chris J. Norwood. On the podcast with us today is John Pedigo. If you've been around the Dallas-Fort Worth scene, you've definitely heard one of his bands, or you've definitely seen or heard one of the artists he's produced. Amazing guitar player, songwriter, producer, and all-around great guy with some great stories. It's John Pedigo. Hello. Welcome back to The Strangest Gig. I'm your host, Chris J. Norwood. Hope you had an excellent holiday season. Hope you're having a very happy new year. We took a little time off in December. That's why there was no podcast. Wanted to spend a little family time. But we're back now, ready to take on 2024. But before we get into John Pedigo, I have a few things I want to go over. If you're into my music, my band Chris J. Norwood and the Knockdown Dragout put out a few singles. Our most recent one, Dancing in the Kitchen, came out December 15th, I believe. Our next one comes out January 19th. It's called Love Me Back to Life. Features a great horn section, really awesome saxophone solo from Preston Lewis, and an amazing string section with arrangements by former Strangest Gig podcast alum, Nick Seeley. Be sure to check that out. It'll be on streaming platforms everywhere, January 19th. January 19th. Our full album comes out February 9th, and we just announced a release show live at the Kessler Theater, presented by 91.7 KXT's The Local Show. Man, it's going to be so much fun. I am so excited and so pumped. I really hope you get your tickets and come see us. Also on the bill that night, the Rosemont Kings and Kirk Thurmond. Go ahead and get your tickets now before they're gone at thekessler.org. You can also find it on KXT's website as well. Our guest this week is one John Pedigo. John got his start here in the Dallas scene with his band Slick 57. Also in that band was Ward Richmond, who John went on to form Boys Named Sue with. Boys Named Sue is a very popular and rowdy country band here in Dallas. They still play shows every now and again. And it was in the Boys Named Sue where John went on to meet another local musician named Taylor Young. John and Taylor went on to form the band The O's. Really great duo. They figured out the right way to tour cheap. And they did. They toured all over the country and all over Europe. Put out several really awesome albums. John has also put out some solo albums under the name Pedigo's Magic Pilsner. Really great albums also. And he's also an accomplished producer, producing for the likes of the Old 97s, Joshua Ray Walker, Vandaliers, and many others. Shortly after we recorded this episode, John performed on Jimmy Kimmel Live as a part of Josh Walker's band. It is an amazing performance, and you should definitely go check it out right now. John is always busy, always working, a consummate professional, the real deal, and a really great guy to boot. He had a lot of fun stories, so let's get to it. Here's John Pedigo. John, let's just dive in.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to let you lead, and I'll start yapping whenever you want me to start yapping.
Perfect.
Right.
John Pedigo, thank you so much for being on the podcast. I've been very excited to have you on for a long time, so I'm really grateful that you're here.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. You have a lovely studio, and I'm just, appreciate you having me. And I'm sorry it took so long. Look at that, though.
You're busy. You're a working musician.
I would say a working musician, you can never say no to gigs. At least I can't. I'm
Exactly.
like, yes.
Absolutely.
And if anybody says do something, yeah, of course I want to do it. He's like, do you have time? Sure. And you just make the time.
At some point, yes.
Yeah.
I will have time. Well, cool. Let's talk about your current gig. Let's talk about what you got going on currently.
Right now, as far as live music goes, or as far as like studio stuff
All
goes?
of the above.
Studio, I'm working with Matt Hillier on his record.
Where are y'all recording at?
We did some at Modern Electric, and the rest just at my house.
Yeah, okay, cool.
I've kind of converted my house into a studio. So
Nice.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's cool for me. I don't
Yeah.
know if somebody came over and says, "Where's your dining room table?" I don't have one. I have a console.
Man, that's like one of the first album I made down in Austin was like that. Like the dining room table was a piano, it was a grand piano,
Right.
Like, and people were set up in the bedroom, and like the console was in the front foyer, and
Right.
it's cool. I love doing it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly keeps costs down when people don't want to spend money. So it's pretty helpful, and I've kind of amassed a bunch of gear over the years. Anyway, so I'm doing Matt stuff, of course, and it's killer. And Josh Walker, we got a new record that is being mixed right now. I usually mix the stuff, but this time we're getting Stuart Sykes to mix it.
Okay.
Which is sweet.
Yeah.
It's so much easier. I just send it to him, and he tells me what a bad job I did, and then and then fixes it. And
It does a better job.
yeah, it's great, and so it's pretty handy. And then just a bunch of little things like around that, which is cool. And as far as live music, I'm playing with 40 Acre Mule here and there, which is fun.
You've been a little more sporadic as of late.
Yeah, well, Isaiah's doing his solo
Yeah.
band thing, and so it kind of, I don't know, it's fine. I
It is what
don't,
it is,
honestly, I don't have time to go on tour right now, so it's just fine,
Yeah.
Like, and, but me and Tim and Robert are going to jam later tonight.
Oh, right on.
And we have this idea of a band called Olds. and it's just, I don't know what kind of music we're going to play yet. I'm just going to show up and I'm going to start, I don't know, turn up.
I love that. There are so many bands that like they get started just because somebody had a great idea for a band name.
Right. I mean, that's kind of this way. We were like, well, Isaiah's playing, and I like jamming with those guys.
Yeah.
And we're like, well, let's start a band called Olds.
my friend James Henderson, like their band Motorcade, like he had that idea. Like I remember him talking about that like 4 or 5 years ago, or
Right.
maybe longer. And he was just like, yeah, I just got this amazing idea for a band name from a band from Dallas. And then I think he constructed the band after he had the name. So I think it's a great way to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it'll be good.
It'll be great.
It'll be fine. You know what I mean? Like
It'll
whatever.
be great.
So I'm doing that. That's live music. And then Chad and I, we're putting together. Chad Stocksliger and I are gonna do a record with just him and me, and so
fun.
acoustic piano record.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so I'm pretty excited about that.
Are y'all writing songs for that?
Yeah, like kind of separate, and then we'll come together and kind of arrange them
Yeah,
together.
Cool.
And just get the dynamics right. But I'm pretty excited about that. We were talking about that last night, and I don't know when we'll do it, but it'll be sooner than
That'll
later.
be great.
Yeah, like I don't know. I try to do as much as possible. Like one, it all adds up to like what some would consider a portion of a paycheck. And so
Absolutely.
like together, yeah, it's embarrassing how little it is, but it works for us.
It makes a living. Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, every musician that I know that makes a living doing music, they're doing a little bit of a lot.
Right.
And that's how you do it.
Well, yeah, it was just like we were talking before this started about video stuff. Like, I'll edit a video here or there. You know what I mean? Like, just if something comes my way, I don't know. I tend to say yes too much.
Whatever keeps you from having to like punch in a clock.
Oh my God, it's too late for me. There's
Yeah,
no way.
right. Like,
if I went into the office gig and they're like, well, you have an hour to go to Applebee's for lunch, and I'm just like, I don't think so. I'm just not made that way. I mean, maybe I could.
Yeah.
I mean, we all can be, but we've been pretty fortunate, I think, to get to, I don't know, tinker with sounds.
Yeah.
Which is like the coolest gig ever, really.
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Talk about some of the earlier bands that you were in, like Boys Named Sue and the O's. What was kind of maybe the first band you started at when you were kind of first getting into things here in Dallas?
Yeah, so the first group that actually kind of started playing a lot, when at the end of high school, going into college, I had a band called Slick 57.
Yeah.
And that band, Ward, the other main guy in that band, he went to Brown, and I was in school at Emerson in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
So Brown is in Providence, obviously, so he was only like 45 minutes away, so we could kind of like hang out and play shows. So we like book shows up there, and we come back here and play shows. And on like right out of college, we got we played South by Southwest, and we got signed to this Australian label that kind of put us on tour, like our first international tour. So we got to go to like Europe, and then we went to Australia and did all these tours, and so that kind of really got me into music. That's where it all kind of began for me. And with those kind of connections, when that band kind of broke up or whatever, the O's kind of started a couple years later, and it kind of used a lot of the same contacts, and that's kind of put how we got overseas the first couple of times.
Who talk about the formation of the O's? What was kind of the impetus? Like, who came up with that kind of concept? Just you and Taylor and
so like
was it a purely like economical
of course
thing?
So like Ward and I started the Boys Named Sue as a band because Slick 57 couldn't play all the time here, or else no one would show up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you'd oversaturate or whatever. And so we started Boys Named Sue as like a way to play at least once a week, and we could always just go play and make some money. Or really, at the time, I think we were playing like at Muddy Waters and Barley House, and they would just run tabs for us, and then each week we'd just pay off our tab with that show, and be like,
"That's great."
So it was like more.
So is the idea just kind of as a covered thing, was it initially a Johnny Cash thing that branched off from there? Or?
We just like the names is pretty relatively clever, and I want to say Bobby Sue, the fiddle player, came up with the band name, or maybe it was Ward. But anyways, so we just wanted to like screw around each week, and we never rehearse. We just kind of show up and start playing songs, and then eventually we learned them.
Yeah.
And then we wrote a couple albums. We've written like 3 albums with like originals too, so that was pretty fun. Anyways, so Taylor was filling in on drums one show, or every once in a while he would play drums with us. And after one specific show, him and I went out drinking because we were like, let's go have some fun.
Yeah.
And he was like, I got some songs, and I was like, well, I got some songs. And one thing led to another, and I said, look, I'll get a banjo and we'll start a band, because like I thought at the time, I was like, I think if I get a banjo, I could fill some more space. And he had been in Polyphonic Spree, and I had been in a 3-piece band before that. So I was like, okay, I understand if we can keep this thing small, we can actually tour and actually make it fun.
Maybe make some money.
Make some money,
Yeah.
actual other than not. And so
you're not losing money.
Right. And so I showed up at his house like a month later with a banjo, and I was like, let's go. And I don't know if he really thought I was serious or would remember, but I did. I was like, here we go. And I learned how to play it and close enough. Yeah. And then we recorded like 2 months after that.
Yeah.
It was like we just started a band. And then that band, obviously, we played quite a bit. We toured relentlessly until the year before the pandemic, and then that kind of, that destroyed everything. In some ways, in some ways it's destroyed me in live music world, but I don't know. I got a lot more studio stuff after that, and I love studio work. So it's my favorite. Like really, like I love working in the studio. I assume you do too.
I do.
Like because I don't know. You just get to try things out and depending if you have the time.
Let me ask you this, because I was talking to my wife about like studio stuff. Do you enjoy like recording vocals and producing vocals? Because that is my least favorite thing about studio work.
Yeah. It depends. Like, well, it depends. Why do you not like doing it?
I don't know. There's just something. For some reason, vocals need to be a little more tedious than other instruments, right? Like you got to get it right, because that's
the main thing.
That's the song, right? That's
it. I guess there is more pressure when you do vocals.
Yeah.
Yes. But I did come up with a way to do vocals that has helped me.
Let's hear it.
And it's pretty convoluted maybe, but in my head it works. But like basically I'll create a grid for like verse, chorus, whatever. So and I will. And at first, I started by marking the right where it is in the bar or whatever, like whichever measure. But now I just kind of like, let's say there's 4 lines in a verse. I will have 4 columns, and I will kind of circle or X if they got it right.
Yeah.
And so then I can look at a piece of paper, and I know that they have consistently missed something, and then I can easily kind of get it.
Okay, so you're doing that as you're kind of doing takes.
Right. And I'm just kind of making notes, and I try.
Do you like to do takes top to bottom?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because I don't know. It depends on who I'm recording, but
Sure.
in general,
Sure.
like Josh, it just works better for him to kind of get a full take.
Yeah.
And then he gets a break at the solo section. You know what I mean? And because he's putting a lot of air out. Like that guy, and he's an odd guy to record vocals for because it's like Janis Joplin. There's so many frequencies coming out of him that can be complicated to manage.
Well, and he's got a wide range.
Oh yeah. So that's when he starts throwing in his hiccups and all that.
Yeah,
it's pretty wild. But no, I like to do full takes, and I like to, and then if the singer's confident, I can kind of go, leave them in the tracking room, and we can kind of go line by line if we need to or whatever. If the singer's not totally confident, I wouldn't do that because no one wants to hear themselves sing generally, you know.
Sure. Absolutely.
But yeah, I see what you mean. It's a little nerve-wracking. It can be because it's the most important.
Because like if I'm recording a guitar and like if I get a really good take that feels good, but maybe I kind of go a little pitchy on one note here in the verse, it's no big deal, right?
Right.
But if you go pitchy on a vocal,
right,
people are gonna know,
right?
And sometimes that's cool, but like people are gonna know,
right. And it's always trying to determine what is cool or what is correct, and I don't know. I don't mind tuning vocals. I'm not anti-tuner.
Oh, I'm not either.
Yeah, and I try to be nice about background vocals. I'll screw with because who cares? And you don't really hear them
for sure.
But it was funny. I was sending stuff to Stuart to mix, and he's just like, "What's going on with these vocals?" And I was like, "If you turn them down, like I know it'll work, but I know what he's coming from. He's like, this sounds like a synthesizer sometimes, and I'm like, well." Because you're not really going to hear it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. Like,
right.
But maybe how he mixes, you actually hear all the nuance or whatever. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm with you, though. Recording guitars is my favorite. I love layering, like, sitting there and just fucking with sounds.
Layer, yeah.
And just making, twisting pedal knob, just how many different, So Matt Hillier and I was doing that all day today. Just like, what does this sound like? He was like, I don't know. We just start messing with it until it sounds cool. And it was like, well, I haven't heard that before.
That's fun.
And always trying to do that. But other than things like acoustic guitar, which you kind of have to record a certain way, at least, or pianos, like in general, you want to get a certain sound. But, I'm pretty loosey-goosey in the studio. Like, I don't want to, labor over certain things.
Yeah.
I'd rather just stick a mic on it and let's go.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
So you're not like super focused on gear and tone. Obviously, it sounds good. You have a sound in your head you're trying to get, but you're not gonna spend a day and a half tuning up the snare and getting a good snare sound.
No, I will say that when I'm tracking a band, snare is incredibly important to me. And I do I'll have like 6 snares in the room, and I'll be like, what sounds best? Because snares are, the second loudest thing next to a vocal. And so if the harmonics of the snare are at odds with a vocal, then I do switch. I will kind of be annoying about that. But usually drummers are pretty cool, and they trust that I have their best interest.
Sure.
Sometimes I'll get the guy, I won't name names, but sometimes I'll get the guy that says, but that's a copperphonic blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't care what kind of snare it is. I'd rather if you play a trash can if it sounded better. Like it was in the way of the vocal. Anyway.
I have a feeling I know who you're talking about.
I mean, it's pretty easy. But what are you going to do? Like, whatever. Like, to me, obviously the vocal wins.
Right, yeah.
And then I want the snare to win.
Yeah.
And if the snare and the vocal are at odds, then I have to turn the snare down, and then that's not cool.
then
we've lost the beat.
Yeah, right.
So anyways.
Yeah. Well, let's, I want to go back to the O's. Are there any plans for more writing, recording for the O's?
Yes. Taylor and I have a radio show every Friday on 95.3 The Range. And from 4 to 6, drive time.
Perfect plug.
Yeah. So check it out. It's riveting radio. But so we do that, and we don't play a ton. But yes, I have written some songs, and we've talked about it, and I don't know when that'll happen, but surely at some point.
Sure.
Because why not? Like, I don't know. Like, the reason why that band kind of stopped playing besides the pandemic was my dad at the time got really sick in 2017, or 16 rather, going into 17. And I basically had to help him run his business with my brother, and it took me off the road, really. Like, I could go on tour, but really I had to kind of be there. Yeah. And so that kind of was down spiraling, and then the pandemic happened, and it just kind of pulled nail. But yeah, I would love to record more with the O's, because Taylor and I, we got a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Our recordings we've had some pretty wild times recording, which is fun.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah. It's amazing that anything got captured. The amount of Miller Lights.
Well, do y'all ever just like put the red button on and leave it on, or?
The O's?
Yeah.
No, we were pretty diligent in the studio. Like, as drunk as we were while recording, we certainly were pretty diligent about it. But we always had some producer that we'd trust.
Yeah.
Jeff Halbert, the first record, and then Stuart Sykes on the second record, and then this guy Frenchie, an Austin producer. He did the last 2 records. And but it was funny because we did on our 4th album, we went to this place called River Road Ice House in New Braunfels. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've been there. I don't think it's there anymore, but it's a real shithole. But but it was awesome. Anyway, they had these cabins, and they're like a crash pad cabins for bands. And it's just, they were rank and they stank. Anyways, and so we were like, we want to rent out one of these cabins and make an album there. And Frenchie was just so confused why we would do this. He's like, why would you? It sounds horrible. I was like, I know, it's going to be great.
That's the point, yeah.
And then I remember getting the first round of mixes back, and I was like, dude, it sounds like we were in a pristine studio. He was like, that's good, right? I was like, no. I was like, add distortion, make it dirty. It didn't sound like that when we left.
Yeah.
It was too clean. So anyways, in the end, it sounded like we wanted it to, and no one liked the album anyway, so it didn't matter. So, whatever,
That's how it goes.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, and then after that, so kind of during the pandemic, you started Pedigo's Magic Pilsner.
Right.
Are there any plans for more Magic Pilsner stuff? Yeah,
so that was started because my dad got sick, and I that was the catalyst.
Yeah. And
I wrote a bunch of songs that are kind of loosely in that world. And so I started, I write a song a week or whatever. I don't know what you're, I'm not saying I write a good song every week, but I write something every week, and so I had plenty of tunes. And recently when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to make it a record sound like, because I usually start with that,
mm-hmm.
It may all sound the same. It's like our buddy John Dufalo, his stuff all tends to sound really similar, because his voice is so unique.
Right.
And it's like, this band's different than this band. You're like, is it? But not with, I don't know. I love Cliff's though. Cliff's rules.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'm trying to figure out the sound, and that's when the idea of me and Chad doing a record, just him and I, piano and guitar. That's where that idea sprouted from. And it's a similar idea to the O's. I was like, how can we make a easy to travel type band? We can always open for people.
Yeah.
Type of band. And so we're going to at least try that. And yes, I got some more Pilsner stuff in the works. I just need to do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
Fit it in the schedule.
Right. But it's my stuff always backburns to work,
Yeah.
It's just how it goes.
Yeah, for sure.
You got, how many records do you have just waiting, or at least songs?
Yeah, right.
They just sit there in a hard drive, and then at some point you're like, I don't like that song anymore. It's old, you know. But like,
yeah, right.
I don't know if it's good or bad anymore.
Let's talk about now about, like you said, you know, with the O's, you toured all over with Slick 57. I'm sure you toured all over. Tell me about the strangest gig you've ever played.
So I was thinking about this because I'm coming in to do your excellent podcast.
Oh, thank you.
And I was thinking about like strangest gigs, and I feel like it's hard to kind of pinpoint strange gigs because to me, I feel like I remember the good stuff more, and I think it's like my ambition has an issue. Like I feel like when I'm playing in some basement in Kansas City or wherever, Ypsilanti,
right.
Michigan, or what, you know what I mean, like those kind of weird gigs where people were in masks or something. Like I feel like those, I was always thinking, how do I get to play on the real stage, you know? And so I don't know, they always tend to kind of get blurry, and they kind of go into a strange just mess.
Right.
But
well, strange doesn't always mean like bad, right? Like
right.
I've had strange gigs that were just maybe awesome but unexpected.
Yeah, I mean, the O's got to play a lot of really cool things, and we got to play one entire month in France where we did one show in Paris, but every other day was like another small town in France, and that was pretty cool because you're always kind of running around. There's always like some, I don't know, miscommunication involved.
Yeah.
And
was that when y'all were opening for Delamitri?
This is before that.
Okay.
This was maybe the second year we were a band. It was really early on.
Oh wow, yeah.
But it was great because Taylor and I are insane, and we tend to drink too much because I don't know, we like to have fun. But our tour manager, this guy Manu, he is
was
a
he
French.
A local? Was he a?
He was a Frenchman,
Yes.
and he was a sniper in the French army, rugby player, just a big burly dude, but he was real sweet. And within a day, he had started smoking again, and at some point, he had to take a break, and he traded out. So he got somebody else to tour manage us because he needed a break, and then ultimately quit the music business. Oh my God.
Y'all were just going too hard.
Dude, we were so annoying. Like just yelling, just nonsense. I don't know. We were insane. Like for better or worse. Like it was so funny though. Like just driving him insane.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there was a strange gig involved in that, other than there was many a strange gig. Like I remember asking all these French people, like, why do you make the fart sounds when you know you're you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, I don't. Is that like a thing over there?
Yeah. So it was like, je m'appelle and they do that.
Okay.
Next time you see like a French movie, you'll notice.
Yeah,
it,
okay.
'cause they can't help themselves. And anyway, so we were asking him, and he goes, the bartender goes, well, what do you mean? We're like, you just did it. You just did it. But no, I don't know. Like strange gigs, like there's just too many. Like,
yeah.
You know, when you show up and...
Were y'all well received over there? Like, did the tour go well? And
Yeah. It was
the
great.
language barrier, like, were crowds kind of into what y'all...
Yeah, for sure. Like, and I got, like, when I was over there, I was up to... I could hold a 10-minute conversation, or at least a 5-minute conversation in French. So I was...
Like, you'd already known... You already knew a little bit before you went over there?
So I was kind of, like, doing all right. And then... that when that went down, and then eventually we started going over to the UK and Scotland and Ireland, and when we started going over to those tours, those were pretty big tours. Those are always fun. And then yes, we did play with Delamitri on one of their big tours. We got to play at the Hammersmith in London, which rules.
Yeah,
that was like pretty epic, pretty monumental. The Empire in Liverpool, like that was pretty cool. So you get to play these amazing rooms. And I remember, like, I guess the strangest gig, at least strangest feeling, was we had played 3 weeks of these sold out like theaters, an arena in Glasgow, but like the all theater, like just big cool rooms. And we land in Dallas. And then the next day we played in Denton at the Fine Line Festival at Haley's to 3 people. I was like, dude, yesterday we played in front of a sold out Hammersmith crowd. You know, we had a private chef on the tour.
Yeah.
Like, and then now we're eating fuzzies at Haley's. It's like, this, what happened? You know, like, what a drop. But you know,
that's when I watched the Tom Petty documentary. That's what they talked about.
Right.
Like on their first tour, they were playing, you know, sold, like you said, sold out theaters, and then they come back and they're playing for peanuts to nobody.
Yeah. And I mean,
such a weird feeling to go from one to the other.
Right. And it's not like you can say that it doesn't matter and it doesn't affect the show, but it does.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like,
sure.
I mean,
well, especially the O show, which is so like not dependent, but like part of the appeal is the banter between you two and with the crowd.
Right. And it's, yeah, everybody gets involved and we're all working together.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like a team. I don't know. And so with that, you know, I don't remember who we were hanging out with, but I'm sure we just did what we always do, which is annoy some tour manager. as they say, we got to get out of here. And we're like, okay, one more, you know, and then, you know, make fools of ourselves. But those are, we have a good time, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like if you don't have fun or you're not laughing in this music world, like, A, you take yourself too seriously, and B, you're not going to last long.
Yeah.
Because it's just, on paper, it's got to be the stupidest business of all time.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
It's so dumb.
Yeah.
Like, if you're, at best, you'll make 25% of what you make. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
If of $1,000, you're lucky to get $250 out of that.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's so stupid. Like,
right.
It doesn't make any sense. And you're like, what if I have one hit? You know? And
yeah,
like,
we're all chasing that one hit. And it's like you get just enough success to like sustain you for a while and make you be like, yeah, I'm there. And then
like,
the next time you're playing for 3 people.
Right. It's like golf, you know? Like, I don't know. I'm terrible at golf. But, you know, you have that one shot and you're like,
yeah,
all right, I'll go. Oh, I can do this.
I'll take the next shot. Yeah.
And then it's, you know, then it's off and you suck again. But like, you know, we do it out of love and almost a compulsion, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So you can't stop it now. It's like it's a moving train of some sort. Yeah,
you get, and like, you know, like you and me, you get to a point where you're old enough to where you can't pivot, you can't do anything else.
Yeah,
right? Like
it's too late.
This is the plan, right? Like,
yeah, like literally, like I can't stop now.
Yeah,
or else what was it all for? Like, oh, that would be really ridiculous. But luckily, you know, you and I are fortunate. Like, we get to do this.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I don't forget about that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you know, in general.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Until like a bill is due, and I'm like, why do I do this?
Yeah.
And you know, live on ramen for a week or whatever.
I'm curious what your opinion and sense of like the crowd, the music fans in Dallas, as compared to other cities or countries. Like, what is your experience playing here? And I know it's hard to kind of quantify just because you're from here,
right?
And have played, you know, an infinite number of shows here versus elsewhere. But what is your sense of the Dallas music fan?
Man, this has kind of come up a lot recently, especially, I don't know if you know Sean Russell. He has a band called Cutthroat Finches.
Yeah.
And he kind of got in some relative hot water when he kind of said something about the music scene and how it's changed, and people aren't going to shows as much. And I do agree with him. And we went further on it when we were talking at Taylor's wedding the other day. And we were talking about it. And this is kind of a weird thing to bring up. But when we were kind of starting off, everybody, I mean, you're basically playing to drunks, right? Like, right. You go to the bar and like you're at the Barley House or whatever, and everybody's wasted. And that type of person that listens to music and drinks doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So it's weird that like, and I hadn't thought about it until he kind of said it, and I was like, oh my God, it's so true. that's kind of our fan bases. They're
Yeah.
all like these people that drink too much. I mean, look at the Ottoman Turks, like they had that fan base, or they do still, that are kind of that drinking kind of in their 20s crowd.
Right.
And ultimately, as we get older, that crowd kind of diminishes, and then people with kids start showing up your show. You know what I mean? It's like, it just becomes whatever. But I don't think that in general, the people that go to bars to drink are into music anymore. Like they're into, that's a whole different culture.
Yeah.
And people just don't drink like they used to. And I know, and I don't know why I think that it affects the crowds, but I do. And I, and
do you
maybe
think that's
there's
Dallas specific, or do you think that's happening?
I think it's happening everywhere. However, like in places like Austin, they're told it's the live music capital, right? So
There's an expectation.
right.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if you're told that, oh, this is live music, you go to Nashville, it's like, oh, everybody plays songs. You know what I mean? Like it's like a real part of the culture.
Right.
And in Dallas, art has never, ever been kind of at the forefront. We've never proudly presented an artist, ever.
Which is strange, because of, like, if you consider the amount of amazing bands and awesome talent that we have here and have had here,
Right.
you would think it wouldn't be, but
I know, and it's weird, like, and it's not just because people move, like the Charlie Crockett's, the Rhett Millers, the, Tim DeLauder, all these, like, big stalwarts of our, community or whatever, Josh Walker, people are around, but I just don't, in general, think, I guess we live in Dallas, but I do think it's across the board. I think it's every kind of city. But I don't think we celebrate art as much as we should. It's just not part of the culture here. We live in an oil town,
Yeah. Still.
It's just, it's still JR's town. Like, I don't know what to do to kind of fix that. I mean, obviously there are people that love music out there, and I'm not discrediting that, but in general, people would rather drink some kind of, I don't know, Bellinis on a patio in Uptown,
Right.
while taking Instagram photos of themselves.
Sure, yeah.
And that's just, I don't know. Maybe it's Facebook that ruined it all, because everybody had a basically a voice, and the tastemakers were, maybe you're an artist or a musician, and then, a week later, a soccer mom has a louder voice.
Right,
she has more, you know what I mean? And
sure.
So now it's like, it's just a whole different, we don't respect things like that.
Right.
I don't, in my opinion. That may be a negative way to look at it, though.
No.
Next week, I'll change my opinion to, like, everything's great.
Everything's great, and music is awesome.
That's right. Music is awesome.
Yeah. Tell me your dream gig, and that can be dream bill, dream venue, dream person to produce, dream studio to work in, whatever that means to you.
I mean, the list of people I would love to work with, that's, come on. It's way too long. But the dream gig, the one I haven't done yet, is Red Rocks, for sure.
Yeah.
And Hollywood Bowl. I'd say those are the two that, like, I would love to do. I've played some pretty awesome venues. I don't care much about ACL. I don't care much about festivals. Like, they don't really,
Yeah.
That's not really, I don't know. They're kind of a drag. There's just, I loved them in my 20s because, I could, like, run around and I had energy.
Yeah, and you see a bunch of amazing bands in the span of one day, right? Like, but
yeah. But now it's like,
playing them is kind of a beating.
Yeah, you're like, you're always walking through mud.
It's always muddy.
It's always someone, and then you're like in a tent that's both cold and hot at the same time. And you're sitting on a cooler. It's like, I don't know. I don't dig that. But like Red Rocks, I do want to play, and I surely I will get to play there at some point. Yeah.
Has Josh played Red Rocks?
Not yet, but I know when he does, I'm in. I will force myself in that. With Josh's stuff, I usually just like, I don't know, any of the kind of the big things I tend to shoehorn myself into because I don't know.
You've earned that right.
Come on,
yeah,
man.
You've earned that right.
Give me something. But like if it's a TV thing or something, like
Yeah.
Oh, I'm there.
That's great.
He's like, I don't know if we have the button. Yeah, you do. Like, whatever.
Come on, man. Just
yeah, man. Yeah, I'm cheap.
I love Red Rocks, and that tends to be like a lot of people's number one bucket list venue.
For sure.
Have you seen a show there?
I haven't. I've never even been there.
Yeah.
And I'm not like one of those guys that's like, oh, we'll never go until I play there. But I mean, I tried to go last summer and it didn't work out. I couldn't. Anyways, but.
I've been a couple times, and it's, man, you don't even have to necessarily like the band.
That's the bit, right?
To enjoy a show there.
Yeah, I was going to be in Denver. And I was just like, I don't remember who it was. I think it was just like, I was just going to go. I mean, it might have even been like Steve Miller's. I mean, like,
Yeah.
Normally I wouldn't go see Steve Miller, but I was like, I'll just screw it. I'll go to Red Rocks, and it could be anybody.
Yeah.
It could be Yanni. I'd be like, sure. That actually might be a sweet show.
Yanni Red Rocks probably would be a sweet show.
Like, I don't know. He'd smoke the local, stuff and just sit there and enjoy. I don't know. But Red Rocks rips, and obviously Hollywood Bowl, that would be pretty cool, but I've been pretty lucky. I got to play the Ryman, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And with Josh, and the Opry with Josh. So, yeah, I've done like cool stuff. I don't know.
What about producing? I mean, I know you're getting into more producing. What, like,
Right.
do you enjoy? I know you enjoy working out of your home studio, but is there like a studio that's like high on your list of wanting to get to record in?
Not necessarily. Like, I just want everybody to be comfortable. So
Yeah.
so rarely I go into any studio that anything works. So it's like my ideal studio is one that actually
Just works. Yeah.
And but like Sonic Ranch out in West Texas is pretty amazing. I don't know if you've been out there. The O's did our third album there, and I've been trying to get a band to record out there since, and it's so hard because everybody's like, yeah, of course I want to go out there, because you stay on the property and you and they have every imaginable piece of gear you could ever want. And
they stay pretty booked up.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so, but like you're on the border of Mexico, so you can like walk to the wall.
That's crazy.
It's like a 5-minute walk. I mean, you're on the border. It's crazy, but I love it out there, and you're kind of isolated. And anyways, every year, Josh, when the new Josh record, we start recording, it's like, okay, we're going to go to Sonic Ranch, and then when it comes down to it, it's like, I don't know, we don't have time to go drive 12 hours or whatever it is.
Yeah, because you got to stay out there.
Right. And you can't really fly. You can, I guess, because you can use all their gear, but you still have to, you know what I mean?
Right. It's hard.
It's logistically kind of a nightmare. But it's a pretty sweet studio. Like, that is pretty amazing. But I don't know. I get lost in Tape Op magazine and wonder about these studios and stuff, of course.
Yeah.
But
what it'd be like. It's cool.
It's really budget wise. Like, no one's got money to spend on records. And if you do, I don't know how you do, because records just aren't sold like they used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what are you going to do about it?
Got to keep making.
Got to keep on keeping on.
Figure out a cheaper way to make a record.
I feel like I've been real negative today.
No, you've been great. This is great. People need to hear the daily grind.
It is a grind, but that's maybe we got to keep doing.
We got to do. Yeah, we do what we do. Yeah.
When are you playing again? When is your next show?
Texarkana is playing for the Deep Ellum tree lighting on December 1st.
That'll be fun.
This will come out after that, so.
Oh, okay. So you had a great show?
Yeah, I had a terrific show. There were 1 million people there.
Oh, that's great.
And then February 9th at the Kessler is my big show.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, pumped.
Who's that with?
So we're headlining, and then the Rosemont Kings.
Oh, yeah.
And then Kirk Thurmond.
Ah, he's a sweet dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He is awesome.
Yeah.
And he and I did a song swap. It's been like 10 years, though. But yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. Rosemont Kings and we played a couple months ago at Revelers, so they're a bunch of good guys.
Yeah.
Be a fun night. How about you?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm playing, tomorrow, but this will be a month ago. Indie film.
Also a great gig for you. Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Yeah, it was a great one. It was 40 Acre Mule, us, Bowling for Soup. They were great. You know, Jared's the best.
Always great. Yeah.
You got to have Jared on the show. That guy is one of the funniest people ever. Anyways, and it should be interesting. I don't know. That's the last 40 Acre show I know of. So maybe that was the last show.
Yeah.
We may never play again.
Ever.
You know, maybe it'll just be olds from now on.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's a great band name.
That's what I said, dude.
It's perfect.
I said it. They started laughing. I was like, yeah. See, it worked.
People show up just for the name.
It's like olds. Yeah, but I haven't figured out what we're going to do yet. It's to be like riff rock or something. I don't know. Maybe by the time this podcast comes out, I've figured it out.
Perfect.
And then you can lead them that way.
John, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time. And
yeah, I'm sorry it's taken a while.
Don't apologize.
Glad to be here.
You're busy, and that's what I like to hear. Yeah. I want you to be busy.
Yeah, dude, you too, you know? You got this great studio here.
Thank you.
You got everything you need.
I do have everything I need.
Plenty of gear. Nice roads that seems to work.
It does.
And a Juno. Look at that.
The Juno does not work.
Oh, it doesn't? Well, whatever. There's a one-trick pony. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, you can use a patch for whatever. Anyways, thanks for having me on.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, dude.
All right, there he goes, John Pedigo. Y'all, please be sure to check out what he's got going on. Check out all the many bands that he's in. Check out all the bands that he's produced. Pedigo's Magic Pilsner, 40 Acre Mule, Josh Walker, Old 97s, this new band Olds, which will no doubt be awesome. Give it a listen and give him some support. If you like what I've got going on, Chris J. Norwood and the Knockdown Dragout is a new single January 19th. And our release show February 9th at the Kessler Theater in Oak Cliff. Go to thekessler.org for tickets. We really hope to see you there. And until next time, just remember, a gig's a gig, right?